Hey YouTube, this is the Art of Prepping. Been watching PreparedMind101 and Tactical channel with Tack. And I kind of was like, hey, they got a pretty cool little thing going here about what's your top 7 short-term survival items if you're out in the wilderness. Now, I've done like the top 5 and I think even a top 10. I may have done a top 7 a while back, but let's just go ahead and do this version. It's short-term. You can also include your EDC items, so you don't have to have all this redundant gear. It's going to be pretty hard anyways to reduce like everything you really need for 2 to 3 weeks or whatever, and that's what I'm going to define it as. A short term is 2 weeks or around that time period. And so if you can count your everyday carry with you, you don't have to have like an extra flashlight or extra fire starter if you already carry a big lighter on you. So there's like some things that you can kind of like knock off the list. And so let me just run through this for me. I carry like a sidearm and a pocket knife, a flashlight, a fire starter, a little EDC kit, or a pocket organizer. And that pretty much really helps me quite a bit to pretty much satisfy some needs if I was just happen to be thrown in the wilderness. And so the likelihood of this really happening is almost zero for most of us because we just don't even go out to the wilderness. But the fact is that this happened in a hypothetical sense. It's more like a mind puzzle or a brain teaser. How would you deal with this? And so especially if you had the chance to at least pick 7 items in addition to whatever you had on your person. And so this is how I am going to approach it. The first thing is my 40-ounce stainless steel clean canteen. And I'm going to pair that up with my Sawyer Mini water filter. So that's going to be just one item in a sense because it's a kind of like it works together. It's a system. And that's also something you're allowed to do in this. You can pair things up. Now, you can't go crazy and say, well, I'm going to pick this and it involves like 15 items. You have to be a little mindful unless it's something like a first aid kit. That's different. But, some things just go together. And so, yeah, I think that water and, filtration and containers are kind of like, essential. You just got to have it. We would die in the matter of days if we didn't. Number 2 is my Schrade SCHF 36. Of course, of all the blades you could pick, why would I pick that? That's just kind of what I like. I have one. It seems very robust. I have not broken it yet. And yes, I have much more expensive blades, but I just like it. I just like that knife, and I like the sheath, and I like having the sharpener in there and a ferro rod in there, and that's all part of the system too, so that gives me more capability. Number 3, a heavy-duty camo tarp. And I've had some extremely good luck with just like the $5, $10 like tarps at Walmart and Harbor Freight. In fact, I still have a tarp that I'm using right now, and it's going on like maybe 5.5, 6 months. And some of the grommets, yes, they have ripped out, but the tarp itself is still like in good condition. It still works. So I just have to find different means to reattach the tarp to the paracord that is attached to the tree. And I have, and it's still working. So something like that is all you really need. An 8x10, I kind of prefer personally, if I had my choice, a 10x12. It gives you more flexibility in different types of formations of shelters. Number 4. An SOL escape bivy. Yes, there's also a lot better versions of that, but I like how compact it is, and I'm trying to be mindful of weight and bulk in this selection. So that's what I'm going to pick for more of like a sleeping bag type of situation, especially now that's getting freaking cold and my hands are about numb. Doing this little talk, I'm going to have to go in a minute. It just reminds me of how important it is to stay warm. Number 5, Titan Survivor cord. I have about 100 feet of that is what I would pick. And as we know, it has 3 additional types of elements to that, to the 550 paracord. It includes a 30 gauge wire. It also includes waxed jute for fire making and stuff. And then, of course, the last one is going to be some monofilament that you can use for sutures, stitches, I guess you could say, and for fishing line and things like that. And so definitely would like that. And, of course, the color of that, I really wouldn't be that picky. Camouflage, earth tones, something like that. I probably wouldn't go too crazy like pink or something, but, maybe like a safety orange, but I think I'd probably go more low key just in case this wilderness survival was an invasion, or escape an invasion type of situation, which probably be even that much more unlikely. But, in terms of like fire making, once again, that would be in my EDC. I typically carry a big lighter of some sort with Gorilla Tape wrapped around it, and keep some tinder in my EDC pocket organizer, so that's covered. Flashlight is covered. I typically carry like a Streamlight Micro Stream. I just like it a lot. Now, if I really knew that I was going to go in a survival situation, I go with something that has a little bit more capability in terms of longevity. And so I'd probably pick the Streamlight Stylus Pro, which has a 6.5 hours, and it's even longer if you use the lithium AAA batteries. And I'd probably carry an extra set of lithium batteries, just like I carry an extra battery from my MicroStream currently. Or if I really thought it was going to be long-term, I'd probably go with the Olight S2R Baton, the newer one that uses the 18650, and that thing is a monster. On the half a lumen, it gets like 60 days continuous of output, which is insane. Of course, half a lumen probably wouldn't do it for me for most of my tasks. But even if you could get 2 weeks out of that, and you carry an extra Olight, like a 3200 milliamp 18650 battery, you're talking about some massive capabilities there. So that would be really ideal. Now let's go ahead and jump to number 6. Even though I'd have my personal protection firearm, typically it's just like a pocket pistol, I think I'd want something a little bit more, to reach out and a little bit more controllable, like a Ruger 1022 takedown. And so I would do that with probably 200 rounds of CCI mini mags, probably a hollow point variant. And that would probably make me feel a lot more comfortable, especially just to procure small game. And my mouth is starting to freeze and my hand's about frozen, so I'm going to have to go here. But number 7, and we'll close this up. As much as I don't want to burn something up, my choices on first aid, you got to have it, And I'm becoming more and more of a first aid buff as time goes on. And so part of my first aid and trauma kit would also include an emergency blanket. So that would actually help in my some of my shelter options, and a whistle. So that would be in there. So there's some signaling if I do need rescue. So that's just kind of my thought on this, the top 7. What are your top 7? I'd be very interested to hear about your ideologies on this. Of course, every time I do a video, we got dogs barking or birds. There was this massive owl that just came by right before I did this video. I wish I had him on video. He was super cool. But so anyways, this is my top 7 short-term wilderness survival gear pick. And thanks to Chris for the idea. I think it's pretty cool to include your EDC, and to be realistic that, in real life, you're never sometimes just limited just to 5 or 7 or 10 items. And so, yes, there's game shows that do it, but doesn't mean that we have to do it in real life. Thanks for watching.